Welcome to the podcast. I'm Ben.
I'm Mae.
I'm Max, and we were had.
Can you believe it?
There are twists and there are turns.
Defleshed is a standard death.
Oh, that's fun.
We were had.
We were.
Okay, let's get into it. This week, I am your research mainline. Welcome to the pod. We are covering the phone stalker. Are we comfortable with calling it the phone stalker? Or
Yeah,
we can call
I
it
think that's accurate.
Restricted's a fun kind of story for the movie version of this. But a lot of articles refer to it as the name of the family, which is it's a toughie. It's Kuykendall is what we're gonna call it. It's Kuykendall. So when we say Kuykendall, that is the main family involved. I understand that it might not be how you pronounce the name, but
I would have
that is how
guessed
we will be pronouncing it.
Kuykendall.
Koi, but it's UY. It's Kuy.
Kuykendall.
Jenner. It looks
Koi
like two
Kendall
names
Jenner.
that aren't supposed to. It looks like a foreign name smushed with a regular. Maybe, you know what? Maybe that instead of hyphenating, they just combined.
Tell you what, that's cool.
Tell you
This
what,
is the
pretty
real
cool.
mystery of this week. How did we
Yeah.
get to the name?
Sorry. Anyway, that's the name of the family that we're covering. The true point of the story is that these people, their family and their friends, were haunted by a group of stalkers via their cellular devices. So,
And it's 2016, so we
Let's-
talking flippies, we talking iPhones.
2007.
Oh,
2007.
2007.
We're going
Sorry,
old.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
2007. So you're talking about these people, they have sidekicks, they have razors, they have Blackberries, and possibly the brand new iPhone that just came out. So
But are
there's
they
across
bejeweled?
devices.
Yeah.
But you forgot to mention the most antiquated thing, landlines.
No, thank
Aren't
you. We don't
landlines-
talk about that.
I believe landlines are part of it.
Landlines are a part of it. We'll fill you in.
Landlines are a part of it. Are you happy with yourself? Okay. So the story begins when a 16-year-old girl named Courtney Kuykendall randomly began receiving texts from her friends from her home in Firecrest, Washington in 2007. Firecrest, Washington is exactly where a story like this would take place in the film. That's a made-up town. Or is that
The
Fircrest?
Twilight films.
It's either Fircrest or Firecrest. We are on a roll. Upon looking at these texts, she is met with messages from her friends asking her why they had gotten text messages from her simply saying gay. So the stalker started by just texting her own friends from her phone, making it look like it was her phone, saying gay, which is just a classic way to get it going.
Especially
Now,
in 2007.
yeah. People, I mean, they thought it was just a dumb but brilliant prank on her part, except for one problem. She didn't send those texts, at least not herself. Mildly confused at what they were talking about, she brushed it off and thought nothing of it. Neither she or anyone else could have imagined how far these strange occurrences were about to get. Are you ready for how strange this is about to get, guys?
Absolutely. So far, a bunch of friends just get the text gay from one of their other friends. And
So the main character here is Courtney and her family. These peripherals, it's the main three families, which I'm going to go into, are neighbors. But like some of her friends get some text from her phone being like gay, and they texted her being like, "What do you mean?" And she was like, "What are you talking about?" So high school. All right. The people involved. Okay, so to clarify, on the three families involved here, there was the Kuykendalls, the Mckays, and the Prices. God forbid it was one of those 2-second families that we covered mainly. Courtney and her family, her older sister and her older sister's family, who her older sister was married and living with her husband in a different house, and a friend of Courtney's who lived across the street from her. So that's everybody. The Prices, and then it was mainly Courtney's family. Some reports say another friend of Courtney chimed in that her phone's ringtone changed without her doing anything to a gruff voice. That was not included a lot in most of the details of the stories, but like that's a weird one. But you could definitely be like, Jessica like made that up. I could see her being like, I got one too. It's like so weird. And it's just like clearly her voice being like, fuck you, bitch. You know?
She just wanted to
But
be
that was
involved
random.
so bad.
Is that, by the way, these people's cell phones were turning off and on, their ringtones were, and they weren't doing it. They were all swearing that wasn't doing it. This is about as believable as Rain Boy. All right, so let's go deeper into the story.
Well, side note, let's talk
So-
about ringtones. Oh my God, can we bring those back? Remember ringtones?
Oh, no. I hear a ringtone, I get PTSD. Let me tell you something. My dad has his phone off silent, and I have to spend a lot of time with him because I now live at home. It's very enjoyable, except for the fact that he doesn't have his phone on silent, like a serial killer, and I get irrationally angry every time I hear it ring. It's terrible.
And it rings every time there's even a text.
when it gets he's got one of those where it's also a long, a slightly shorter but still a long ringtone for a text where it's like bloop bloop boop boop doo ba
Yeah,
da.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
American Pie, and it's like, this is
Yeah.
what's going on?
It's just a full sound for a single text message.
Remember, like,
Beethoven's entire third symphony.
remember ring back tones? You'd call somebody and you'd be listening to like Gwen Stefani.
Yeah. You Greg
Good times.
Oh,
Which
yikes.
one was
All right.
do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do? Was that Nokia?
That might have been Nokia.
That was ingrained in
Yo, bring back Snake. That shit was the only thing worth it on these
Yeah,
phones.
Snake was great.
What about Brick Breaker?
Ooh, yeah,
Oh.
that was good.
I only played Brick Blaster. All right, deep. Let's go deeper in the story.
I played Finger Blaster.
So Courtney,
Yeah, I
after the
played
gay
Brick Breaker.
text,
While you guys were experimenting sexually, I played Brick Breaker.
so after the classic zinger text, Courtney and her friends and family all started receiving threatening text messages and phone calls from an unknown person who they all later referred to as restricted, named so after the word that appeared on their caller ID whenever these calls happened.
Wow, what
As
an
soon-
original naming. You made it sound-
Yeah, I kind of dig it though. It fits it's very cinematic.
And
All
I
right,
think,
so
I think you're right. A name for a movie like I think Restricted is a great name for a movie.
Restricted is 100% a good name for this movie. All right, as soon as I say exactly what you just said, but offended, Restricted is a good name for this movie.
Sorry. No, you're right. You're right. You're right.
So as soon as, quote, restricted began their calls, they would regularly threaten to kill or rape their human targets, attack the schools they attended, and even threaten to kill their pets, which is where I draw the line. The messages got to the point.
The order and the word even there were a little.
Yeah.
So the messages got to the point of coming through like basically around the clock, and would take place on both the family's landlines. All right, good for you, Ben. Noted this was in 2007, a time when landlines had not yet gone the way of the payphone. They also got a lot of calls from their cell phones. So in an attempt to stop the harassment from this one restricted, everyone affected went as far as switching phones, changing their numbers and turning their phones off and getting new accounts, but nothing seemed to even slow restricted down. At one point, after Courtney and her family called the police after finally having enough of the harassment, and while in the middle of explaining the situation to an officer, all their phones turned on and called each other, and the police backed that story up. How insane!
That's
insane is that? And that's when even her family turned on her and were like, Courtney, is this, just be on court, just tell us, okay? We're all like, just like end it here. So things started looking bad at her. She was never named as an official suspect, but she was the only one that the police were like, well, we got to look into her. She was the only one that they were like,
Yeah.
we have somebody. After that,
that's
they were
square
like,
one.
you know what? We got fuck all with this case. So they look back. They let, like I mentioned earlier, the police traced the threatening messages back to her phone. Her phone, by the way, was seemingly able to send messages and make calls even when she had powered it off, which is very upsetting. At another point, the main family, the Kuykendalls, had just returned after meeting with law enforcement concerning their phone calls. They noticed they had a voicemail which consisted of a recording of that exact conversation from earlier that day.
Wait a minute.
They were
The same
sent a recording of their conversation with the police.
Okay.
After
what?
getting home from the police station, which is
So
like
how-
the parents took Courtney's phone away. The parents were like, this is you, bitch. Like, but that didn't work. The
Whoa.
harassment still happened because like even the parents were like, okay, this is you. We're going to just stop this, take your phone away. And the harassment continued.
So that would ostensibly prove that it's not Courtney, right?
Oh, yeah. Courtney's, her still to this day, Courtney has portended to Courtney and her family have been like, there's no way. To be fair, there have been a lot of, you know why the story is like, how you know it's super real is that there haven't been really follow-ups. They don't talk about it in the documentary, in like those shows that Mae jerks off to. It's like,
Modern Family?
which is like, it's almost like too creepy to cover because they really never got anywhere with it. And it's kind of like, it's too upsetting because it's too real. Does that make sense? Like the family does not want to revisit this, similar to those pony-tailed fucks with Rainboy.
Well,
Yeah.
Rainboy, they at least had those two special
Yeah.
things. This one's really not much. I mean, well, I, for one, had never heard of this.
I actually looked her up on Facebook, and now she's an RN, and she has 2 kids. FYI.
God bless her. Should we start calling? But that's probably they don't
like
want it to
our
continue because
age.
people are going to start
Yeah.
calling this poor woman.
She's
There's
29,
probably already
actually.
Redditors out there. Sorry, we're completely just talking over each other.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Apologize to the listeners. I.
Sorry, everybody. Keep listening.
Okay, where were we? Oh, so her parents took her phone away.
Right.
And
I was
that
just
didn't
making
work.
the point that like that wouldn't if it still continues after her phone is gone, then it's not her, right? Or maybe she's.
What about computers?
I mean,
Can you
I
sync
guess
her-
you'd have to go as far as to say that Courtney had hacked into someone else in the family's phone as well, or it was team up between Courtney and But here's the thing: these people are not famous. None of them are now X, Y, or Z. They don't want to be talking about this story anymore. Why would they have done it?
Right.
All right, specific details. So after they got a new security system keypad for their home, Restricted called them literally moments later to tell the family that he knew their passcode. Sorry, I don't mean he, could have been a she, but that they knew their passcode to it.
It was definitely a he, though.
It was definitely a he. I mean, only a guy
course.
would do this. They're perverts.
Yeah.
But how insane is that?
That's very creepy.
That's crazy.
And this is why it's so upsetting for the family too, because it's like every time you got to be like taking stock of who's in the room with you when you get this shit, because you're like, fucking Brad, was it you? It's like
Yeah.
it really, you're gonna start pointing feelings. I would go mad.
psychological. Yeah.
Yeah, so the guy or the Restricted person made comments about the family on their clothing, like it was clear that he was watching them. And you know what's fucked up is it was either it ranged, so it was like could have been super juvenile sometimes the stuff he said, but also super fucked up. You know what I mean? So like the scratchy voice would call daily, and sometimes that they say they wanted to cut the entire family's throats. Like they wanted to slit
my
everyone.
God.
The mom, Heather, was told on ABC News this. Like one of the direct quotes from this person was, "I know where you are. I know where you live. I'm going to kill you."
Holy shit.
But at another time, this is like his famous quote. Everybody loves this quote. This is a fan favorite. This poor girl, Andrea Mckay, one of the neighbors, she was in her kitchen cutting limes, and he texts her and goes, "I prefer lemons." Ooh. That's the worst text. That's the worst thing you could get. I'm sorry, but that's what would ruin it for me.
Oh God.
I did see that a bunch of places, actually. People do love that story.
That's
the
insane
one.
because that is so eerie. Imagine just cooking dinner, enjoying it.
That really is a scene from a movie. That's something.
That's a scene.
Yeah. When
This is
was
all very Scream.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Was this around the time that Scream came out, or at least one of the
Scream
Screams
came out in
for
like
sure.
2000.
So
perhaps.
Yeah,
I'm gonna Google.
First
Scream.
one is like late 90s.
90s,
but maybe
96.
probably a later one.
Oh my God, I remember being so afraid of those movies because I watched it when I was, I guess, late 90s. I would have been like 8 or 9.
Let me tell you something. They're classics, though.
The
Oh,
first one's really good.
So
it?
interestingly, Scream is a fantastic movie. Scream 2, I mean, it's fine. Scream 3, when Courtney Cox get those bangs, though. So this was not around, I just Googled it. This was not around a particular movie because Scream 1 came in 96, then 97 was Scream 2, and Scream 4 came out in 2011.
But it
There
is
have-
a similar
And
time period.
Scream
to
3,
Gossip
sorry,
Girl.
Scream 3 was 2000.
It's a similar time to Gossip
XOXO,
Girl, and there's a bit
your
of this
neighbor.
like person who's reporting on all the things that are going around.
It was Dan Humphrey. All right.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Won't go down those.
So I bet you're wondering to yourselves, listener, and also Ben and May, my uncultured swine, were there ever any arrests? And there have been no new follow-ups, no arrests, no persons of interest, or anything since the attention on the case reached its peak. So they never touched this sucker.
wow.
And some sources hint that the FBI did get involved, and then the calls stopped. But that's it. Like basically, all we do have confirmed is like that it eventually just stopped. What if there was a ransom situation? Like I really, you could never, you never
Yeah.
really fucking know. As it was never made certain if it was simply one stalker involved, let alone what the motive was. The only substantial evidence to come from the incident were recordings of the voicemails left by the guy, which has been described as a throaty juvenile rasp stolen from bad horror movies. They followed up saying like it also sounded like Mae directly after her throat surgery, which I thought was a little messed up.
That's
I thought that was
dick back 13 years
Yeah.
before they had the surgery.
It's insane,
nailed it.
and that's how you know how good this guy was.
He's hacking
Did
my
you guys-
voice from
They hacked it.
That's great to not be able to find this person at all. Like, this person is completely evading them, and they're like, you know how we'll get him back? By insulting his voice.
The calls were described as having a bitchy, big loser, small dick tone.
You got him.
That's amazing. Okay, did you guys read any of those the articles like at the time that were written about this? Because it was like, it also makes you realize how fucked up the media is, because at the time they turned it into this sensational story that's like happening. So they're like, pack this one up. This is one that moves the needle on the scary scale. And like now we read that back and this is like, this is just fucked up. If you're like at that time, they should be like, we should catch this man. You know
right.
what I
And
mean?
imagine
at the time, they're like, spooky time in Washington. Courtney and her family are going to get caught. Like, it's insane.
And like, imagine if something actually did happen to them, and then like looking back on those news articles, are like, how fun is this? Local family gets harassed by rapist, and it's like and you're like, dude.
I read one of the articles I read. It was on this website called The Register from 2007, and they did exactly that. They were like, oh, well, this is crazy. Don't square off the cell phones, kids. And they were like, this family should be tracking them right back. They were like, it's clear that it's some sort of hacker, and they should be taking it upon themselves. If the police aren't going to do it, they should be tracking them back. And it's like, okay, The Register, what?
Yeah. If someone's going
he
to
wants
tell
these
me
people
that
to turn
they're
into
going to
vigilantes.
Yeah, if you tell me that you're going to break into my house and slit my throat, like, I'm going to get the law enforcement involved in.
And then, of course, ABC News had to turn it into being terrifying for every single person. They were like, cyberbullying is on a rise, because in 2007 it was just becoming a thing because Facebook thought it was a new way for people to tell you to kill yourself. So ABC News was like, cyberbullying, it's happening. It's happening to your kids, and they're probably getting these calls too, which was fun. And then they end the article being like, before you swear off cell phones, again, this is 2 articles that said it, forever, here are some tips to protect yourself. At the time, they thought cell phones were a fad, I guess. And now Jeff Bezos owns
hilarious.
us, so.
Yeah. Jeff Bezos and George Soros own us all.
That's it. Well, it's amazing because Jeff Bezos is able to get our orders from George Soros in the same day, which is insane.
Crazy. I love it.
All right. So you might be wondering to yourself, you know what? I back the blue. The police should have handled this, right? My guys in law enforcement, they never miss one. They never miss these guys. So at the time, Police Chief John Chessman was quoted saying, "We're almost dumbfounded. We've never seen anything like this."
Great.
Not quite.
Almost. I guess he was holding out hope when he was being quoted. But this case...
I'm sure they never even had they didn't even have the thought to bring in computer programmers or somebody who could feasibly understand how the hacking worked. They're just sitting around with their big fucking police guts and being like, I don't get it. Anyway.
Plus, you're talking about...
Yeah.
You're talking about 2007. No one's believing a teenage girl. These people are making fun of her behind her back. The cops are like, oh, what's your boyfriend mad at you? Or they're like, oh, someone saw too many Britney Spears videos. This is probably what happened.
Yeah, maybe.
But I'm sorry, but at this point, aren't a lot of people confirming it? Aren't a lot of people getting calls and texts?
Yeah, but no,
Heather's mom was a slut. I don't know what the story.
But they're saying they're thinking that Courtney did all of this, sending her friends and family to get the scent off of her. Mm-hmm. I guess I don't fucking know.
And the problem is, there was all this danger, but also no one actually got hurt, unless you count a lifetime of trauma now, because every time you see a message on your phone, you're like, oh, God, it's him. But the case went on for 4 months. So Courtney was going through this for 4 months. Who knows how long Andrea Mckay and her lemons were going through this. But the phone calls came in at all hours of the night. Then it all stopped suddenly, and no one was ever caught.
Wow. That's weird.
That's insane.
So nothing prompted it ending.
Let me ask you this question.
The rumors and a couple sources were that the FBI got involved, and I guess this person, whoever was doing it, whether it was an inside job, et cetera, were like, well, the heat's too hot. But I wouldn't be surprised if they drop in every once in a while, because that's not enough to bring to the FBI, but it's also just to remind these people that you ruined their life. Mae, you were saying.
I was saying, did Courtney just graduate from high school and it stopped? Because she's about 16 during the height of this or whatever. I guess it'd be 4 months, so no. But that would be interesting. Because I have
Are you
this
clocking
feeling,
this as being a high school enemy?
I'm clocking this as either a high school enemy or like a creep interested in high school girls. Like there's something.
Right.
That's what
but
I'm
Ben
thinking.
wasn't in his 20s at the time.
In my 20s. I could have thought of something like this. So we do know it's a guy based off the voice, right?
Well, no, I mean, they could have changed their
Right.
voice. You don't know. Also, you never know who's a guy now.
Yeah, I mean, in 1996, they had a voice changer too. Anybody could have a deep voice, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not 1996. Why are we all off with the years?
I'm talking about Scream.
In 2007. Okay, right.
I'm talking about Scream. This guy's calling you and they go, "What's your favorite movie?" You know, he watched Scream, you know?
Was
like
it
lemons.
Claudia
What?
Conway? Was it
Was it
Army Hammer?
Army Hammer used to that would make sense. Honestly, Army Hammer was of an age that he could have been doing this, and he was just calling people being like, "I'm going to eat your babies." You know what I mean? Like, that was probably a thing. Like, "I'm going to eat your dog. I'm going to eat your grandpa's
Yeah.
liver." They involved
It's gonna be so
by the way, they
fucking
involved the
hot.
grandparents, which is insane.
The grandparents got calls also?
The grandparents got calls. Somebody's grandparents got calls. And the pets. They had to call and be like, "Baxter's going to get it." I don't think that's necessary.
Let me tell you something, though. High school girls that hate other girls are fucking motivated.
Let me tell you something. Blair Waldorf would have done this.
Oh, yes.
In 2007? Are you killing me?
Totally.
That's what I'm saying about Gossip Girl. It probably is around the same time. I think Gossip Girl was around
It is-
2007.
It
Yeah,
was
it was.
2007.
I think.
Spooky.
You know who? I mean, like, yeah. What was Georgina doing at this time? Because that bitch was crazy, and she would have done this.
I think that maybe an ex-boyfriend thing. I don't know how to do
Yeah.
this without getting into the drama of the like OC
Yeah.
high school drama.
But seriously.
The middle of.
Well, we can get into There were 4 main theories that I came across in the articles and stuff. None of them were fleshed out. They were all very quickly debunked. So the first one I will say is the jilted lover or some sort of high school person. So based on Scream 1, which was the boyfriend and the friend did it, spoiler alert. So to you guys' credit, like, yeah, they were like, is there someone just like in high school that's mad at you? Like, do you have an enemy, ex-boyfriend? And they never had a credible person to go after at all for this. These people were fucking nerds.
A little bit about like Courtney's popularity, what group she was in.
Oh, let me tell you
Well,
something.
she's
From her
a
Facebook,
nurse
she's
now,
cute.
so we know she was an asshole, which is good.
One of the-
It could have been, but
she
she
was
is
definitely
very
mean.
attractive. She's attractive.
She's an attractive girl. Well, that's
She's a very attractive girl. Yeah. So that does not help her case. I feel like there's jealousy. there's guys that are pissed that she's not hooking up with them. Like it's somebody within their high school, or maybe even like a high school teacher, maybe like a computer science high school teacher.
Yeah.
What about that?
Let's make that accusation.
Yeah.
Let's look up who the computer science teacher is.
Let's say his name out
Say
loud.
his name right now.
Let's
Who's got
dock
the
this
almanac?
motherfucker. All right. So I don't think it's that. I mean, at a certain point, 4 months, not the entire police, but 3 different families, the FBI eventually. How good is a 16-year-old at this? Unless
Right.
they're a fucking movie quality fucking kid. But there was a lot of wondering because it seemed like it was a combination of like hacking technology, but also actually watching something. I bet it was more than one person. I mean, or it was one person that had all day to worry about this. So the largest theory was the hoax theory. Was it just Courtney? But that's the problem is when the poor girl has her phone off, or her parents have it, and this shit's happening.
Yeah.
Wait, so hoax means that everyone involved is making this up? Is that what hoax means?
No,
No.
the hoax meaning that Courtney made it up.
I mean, she'd have to be an incredibly sophisticated hacker for that to work.
There's
It would
yeah.
be pretty skilled.
Really
I mean,
skilled.
to be in front of the police, recording it, being able to schedule all the phones to go off at the same. I mean, or she would have had to accomplice. Maybe she had a ugly little accomplice.
Could it have been a police officer?
Can't be her alone because Mae said she was attractive in science. That doesn't.
Yeah. But maybe she got like some nerd at the school, like some freshman bitch boy, to do it. Was Mike Permonte in high school? Was he young enough to get into this?
I think Mike was about 45 when this.
Yeah.
So it was him just calling by himself. The other one, the next theory, that theory's not real because it obviously wasn't Courtney, based on everything that was going on.
Sure.
I mean, that's insane. Even Blair would give it up at a certain extent. The next one is that it was a virus or some sort of hack. Let's be honest. MySpace was a dangerous place. It was really taken off. I mean, come on.
MySpace was
people were
crazy.
getting kidnapped.
Oh, yeah.
Hacking was a whole thing.
Did you guys have a MySpace?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had like one sleepover 8th grade, and we all made MySpace pages with like fucking Gold Digger were the song in the background of it. It was what an evening.
I went right from Friendster to Facebook.
Friendster.
Wasn't
I
it
never
for a
had.
little bit?
Yeah, no, I think it was, but I just never got involved in that.
I think the
I went
first
from
time I
MySpace
saw
to
real pornography was when I was in like 6th grade or 7th grade when I got my first cell phone, and I got texted a video of like an old couple getting like the guy getting a blowjob from his like old wife, and it came from a number I didn't know.
Yeah, I know that video.
And it was like,
It's
this was on
Ben's
like
parents.
a flip phone where like you don't even know that videos could be sent. You know what I mean? On this old phone. It was insane. And later I found out it was.
Saw was in 7th grade.
Is that
I mean,
old?
like,
Is
talk
that
about-
late or young?
That's insanely old. I was watching Scream and then watching porn afterwards in '96.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, you're talking about you Googled boobs before then, but you're not. I wasn't watching. You know, I guess maybe I was not as advanced as Ben Pervert Kirschenbaum. But listen, God bless you. You know,
I would buy like a Maxim.
I guess I started watching porn whatever year Modern Family came out. I don't know. But
she was gonna say it. It still got me.
Modern Family was the sexual awakening, and then he just.
yeah, actually, Happy Gilmore was. If we want to really, if we want to be real.
Oh, you do love the
Wait,
hockey, gentlemen.
Oh yeah.
And then the final theory, and this is kind of mine, was it someone else in that immediate circle? Was it someone else other than
yeah.
Courtney? Was it a sibling duo of the neighbors? Was it like a fucking mom and daughter duo? Maybe they were jealous of Courtney was best friends with, let's say, Andrea Mckay from childhood, and then obviously Andrea ended up getting a little plump before freshman year, and Courtney, you know, had the boob spurt. Then all of a sudden they're hanging out a lot, you know, and maybe they held a grudge. And
Who
now see,
knows?
I'm dragging this woman's, but that story makes sense. You know what I mean? It kind of makes sense. That tracks.
Crazier stuff has happened. Truly, people are fucking psycho.
I think this is a series more than a movie. A series called Restricted.
A mini-series? Yeah, you know what? Jinx. Yeah. You owe me a friendship. I think this would be. We should first of all, HBO, if you're listening, like we will have like a We Were Had mini series where we cover this more in depth. This is a great season 1. Maybe it's an anthology. Season 2, something else. It's just something to think it might. Maybe Regina King is directing. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. But I don't know. This one had me, and I'll tell you how it had me. Is that, you know, I'm alone right now in my apartment, and I was eating dinner, and I look up, and my terrace is open, so you could see out into the plains and all that kind of stuff. And then I just had the urge to close you see the beautiful view, and I decided to close the blinds because I just was like, there was something irking me. I was like, maybe somebody's watching me.
And then your
You know?
butler knocks on the door, and you have to freak out. You have to
And I'm like, Dorota, what are you doing in here? You know, let me tell you something.
Aggressive.
I was filming this, maybe the worst moment of my life, but I was filming a TikTok by the window to use the natural light earlier this morning, and
enough to know that it's already bad.
and
Is this relatable?
one of the little
And I'm
helpers
concerned
was
about the light.
Wait, sorry. Go ahead, Max.
one of the little workers here was using one of those snow machines to clean the private lot, and the machine was blowing the snow right against my floor to ceiling windows, and it was making a loud noise while I'm filming this TikTok. So I just like knocked on the window and I was like, "Garcon, like some of us are working."
Doing important work.
And anyway, that's what made me fearful of having dinner by the window. Well, I would guess you would call it like an atrium or some type of, I don't know.
For those of you who weren't able to pick it up, that entire story was just to plug Max's TikTok. Please follow him on TikTok.
Please, I'm shadow banned.
Are you really?
Yeah, it's insane. I've mentioned this on every single show that I make, which is too many shows and too many times to mention this. But ever since I went viral, now my videos I went from 1.2 million views, if that's what you're counting, anyone's counting, to now a video since then. You're lucky if they crack 100 views, and
wow,
the content's perfect. So I don't understand.
What was the video that went viral?
I mean, it was one of my brilliant bits. So it was like just a classic one-liner. It was the financially fluid.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
that's a good one.
Yes. People
like that.
People were lip syncing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they started a sound with it. There were like 30 videos made over my fucking voice.
To bring it back together, the modern day Courtneys.
Yes.
If Courtney
Faking.
were in high school
Faking
now,
audio. Yeah.
Yes.
She would be sending her friends audio of me telling a viral joke. I think that's what would
yes, that's the update.
And that would be terrifying. All of her friends would be like, "This is worse than before." Everybody hates it. What about you guys? What are your prevailing theories before we close out? And were you sufficiently had?
I kind of like the last one, that it's someone in their circle. I think that makes the most sense. Like, they obviously knew all the players. They knew all the people to target that would get under this girl's skin. And they tried to frame her so it's like psychological, like she's getting harassed and she's also getting blamed for the harassment. That's diabolical. It's somebody had a really big beef with her, and I think it's within the circle of the people that were getting harassed so that they could like take the scent off themselves.
I do like that one.
You know what else? I would go a little. I would take that further to agree with it. Is that, you know what? One of these motherfuckers might have had like a clerk in the police office or a deputy in the police office in the family. Like my cousin works down at the station. That's an accomplice. First of all, we know there's not always honor among these people. Second of all, maybe they're told that this Courtney wronged their family member, so they want to, not hurt her, but ruin her entire experience of life. Ben?
And with that, before I say my theory, would that explain the, I like lemons thing, the whole idea of the person like really knowing exactly what's going on?
Yeah, because they would know where these people live and all that.
They would know where these people would live, and also it would make some of the stories fake. It would, like, let's say it's the Mckays again. I'm really dragging them through the mud, but maybe it's the Mckays made up that lemon story. Maybe they're the ones that they're like, oh, and they knew I prefer lemons. That's perfect. That's right out of a movie. So maybe they made up the one that, like, I know where you live, I'm gonna kill you, even though that was Heather Courtney's mom. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, they could have made up some of them,
right?
Yeah.
To add.
The only other theory that I would put out,
and then they're neighbors, so you can see through their window, and actually maybe fucking Bob next door was watching them put the security code in.
Right.
The only other theory that I would put out, and it's a very sort of like vague theory, but I feel like maybe I'm overrating technology or like the way that we're surveyed, but I feel like someone could hack into these sort of things and be able to certainly listen in and text people and break into phones. I mean, I feel like that's definitely possible.
There was a fairly
why?
sophisticated element of hacking back then, but good question, Mae, is even if that was relatively possible, it would still have to be someone directly related to the people involved.
Fine. Yes.
At least Courtney. Yeah.
Computer science. 2007, there's only one computer science teacher, probably.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
In high school, there is one, but there's probably only one.
And they teach you like Oregon Trail. Remember that?
My thing was that there was like Mario typing.
Yeah.
That was for a while, where it was like you click the right word or type the right word, and you would get a toad.
Yahoo!
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, I think we were had though.
Let me ask you. Well, yeah, this is a great one, and this is one where you really are able to kind of imagine what you would do in this scenario because you don't have to imagine people getting killed, but like it's kind of like you can kind of really see it happening because number one, it's way even way more possible now to have this happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I agree with you. It gets dark. It gets dark with the threats, but it never actually, nothing actually materializes. So I feel like it's sort of the perfect thing. DB Cooper was a similar kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that was cool. You know what? You never thought you'd say this, but it makes you want to hijack a plane. But this story. No, this.
Got it.
But if this story had happened now, or even in 2017, but 2007, if this happened now in 2021, I mean, there's no way you can hide from this man or these people because at least back then you could put your flip phone, your BlackBerry away, not answer your landline. But you're talking about every single screen is connected to the. They could hop on if they could turn your Roku on. You know what I mean? It's you can't put your cell phone down. You're working in front of a screen all day. You cannot hide from this.
You don't exist. Yeah.
God forbid they got into Alexa. That's it. Good night.
Oh, I'd be canceled if they got into my Alexa. Are you kidding me? The things I say in private? Holy fucking shit. That'd be bad for me.
Speaking of the DB Cooper thing, I feel like we had another one. Washington State. I feel like this is coming up a lot in these We Were Had.
Yeah, the
episodes.
Pacific Northwest is creepy and weird.
Yeah, we're
really you know what it
focusing in
is?
on that area.
It's
nothing weird happens.
It's
in New York.
clowny and rady.
Yeah. Was it Edward? Was it Edward Cullen? Oh, that was his name, right?
The vampire boy?
The vampire boy, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let me tell you something. What he did to Bella in those movies is one notch below this. Let's not forget that.
Twin Peaks, also Washington.
Yeah, Twin Peaks, yeah. That was a weird
and
show.
that was they actually, you know what? At least that guy followed through with the murder. Reminds me of the classic Ben bit. All right, guys, thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. What an episode.
Toodaloo.
XOXO.
All right, bye.